Did you have a TV in your home?
Yes, we did.
How many did you have?
We had one.
Okay, and what room was it in?
It was in the living room in those days. Everybody watched the same TV.
Hmm. Did you ever watch TV at dinner?
Not in those days. In the early days, no.
Okay.
We used to when we lived in Springfield and Hollowell.
Okay, so
I came home from work. The kids came home from school, and Grammy had a nice dinner, and we would for a long time. Your mom will remember when we were in Hollowell, and the kids were in high school and all, and we'd watch the evening news with Walter Cronkite.
okay. Let's see. So the questions I'm going to ask you for technology, they're like for like these questions are directed at like the time after like from when you moved to Grammy's parents' home all like through having your own kids.
Yes.
So yeah, just to let you know. So did you have a radio?
Oh yes, we did.
Okay. And do you remember the names of any like stations or shows that you listened to?
Well, we used to listen to the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite, and we listened to Father Knows Best. That was a very famous show. We listened to Lucy, Who Likes Lucy, or whatever.
Oh, I Love Lucy? Is that what it's called?
I Love Lucy, I guess, yeah. And all kind of shows like that Lawrence Welk show, music show, was a big hit at the time. And a late night show with Johnny Carson at late night. And there was a show called Amos and Andy that people used to listen to, and so forth. And there was a show called Gunsmoke that was very popular for many years. Everybody listened to Gunsmoke. It was a Western show, and a lot of shows like that.
Okay. Did you have a telephone? And if yes, how many?
Well, when I was growing up, and when we moved to Grammy's house, yes, everybody had one one telephone.
Okay. Did you also have one when you were like with when my mom and Uncle Mark and Aunt Jane were born?
Oh yes, we had 3 or 4 telephones in the house. Usually 3 or 4 at all times.
Did you like when my mom was growing up and stuff? Did you guys like if you watched movies, were they on VHS tapes then, or like how did you watch a movie?
Well, we really didn't watch movies in those days, Caroline. If you wanted to see a movie, you went to the movie house.
Oh, okay.
You know, there was a time when we first had the tapes. It was an 8-track tape, but it was music, but you couldn't watch a movie on it. And those days, if you wanted to go to see a movie, you had to go to the movie house.
Okay. Did you have a video camera that you filmed home movies with?
Oh Lord, no, we never had that.
Let's see. I thought my mom had told me at one point though that there were like some like old-ish, but not too old, like little like film things from when she was like a teenager or something. Is that?
That she had what now? I didn't quite get that.
There were some like videotapes and stuff from when she was a teenager or something.
Videotapes?
Of them growing up or something, like little movies or something, I thought.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she did. Grammy would probably remember that. But,
okay.
I don't know as I remember any videotapes like that. But if your mom said that, she probably remembered it very well.
Okay. Like when my mom and Uncle Mark and Aunt Jane were like first born, and then when they were teenagers, and like as they were growing up, when they were still kids though and still at home, what were some like do you know what the iPad is?
Do I know the what?
What an iPad is? like an iPhone and all of those things?
On iPad?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know-
no, that came
No,
long
I'm not-
after
no, I'm not
the
asking-
kids were grown up.
No, yeah, I'm not asking like if you had those, but like you know what that is today, though, right? Like,
Yeah,
do you
but
know
we
what it
didn't
is?
have things like that
No,
when
no,
your
I
mom
know.
was growing up and
That's-
Uncle Mark was growing up, iPads and iPhones
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. I just mean like that's just an example of like something that's a really big, like popular piece of technology today. So, like, were there any like big technology things like when my mom was younger?
Well,
Like-
I would have to think about that for a while. There was always things coming along, Caroline, that was always new and different and sort of a wow factor, you know.
Hmm.
I can't think of anything right offhand right now.
Okay, I can just ask my mom that later. Let's see. Did you use computers at work? Like, were those around?
Computers came into being just a few years before I retired, and I've been retired over 25 years.
Oh, okay.
And computers first came into being just before I retired.
Hmm.
Of course,
Okay.
now the world couldn't operate without computers, but it was unheard of when I was still working until the last few years that I worked for the telephone company.
Hmm. So, let's see. Did your kids take the bus to school or did you drive them?
They usually took the bus to school, or if we lived close enough, like in Hollowell, they walked to school. But of course, they didn't walk. When they went to high school, they had to take the bus.
Okay.
So they either walked if we lived close, or they took a bus. No, we didn't drive them to school.
Okay. When you did watch Walter Cronkite, how often did you watch him?
Almost every night, Monday through Friday.
Um,
And his famous sign off when he said good night. His last thing he said, and your mom will remember this if you mention this to her, she'll remember it. When he signed off, he said, "This is Walter Cronkite saying good night," and that's the way it was. September 12th, 1942, or whatever the date was.
oh.
Excuse me.
Let's see. So, when you and Grammy like first became parents, who were some really popular singers and actors and athletes? Like-
Well, Pat Boone was a very popular singer. Lawrence Welk Orchestra was very popular, and Guy Lombardo and Sammy Kaye, Swing and Sway with Sammy Kaye, and the big bands, they called them big bands, with 20, 30, 35 pieces in the orchestra. They were very popular. And Kate Smith was a very popular singer during the war years. Harry Como was a very popular singer all those years. You probably never heard of most of those people.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They were very popular singers.
Let's see. Do you remember any of the names of the toys that your kids played with when they were younger?
Well, there was a kid has a every kid has a Hasbro toy. That was one. Oh Lord, Grammy's over here across the room. Let me ask her. Do you remember the name? Oh, and she's gone. You there, Grammy? No, she's gone.
Okay, that's fine.
She's sitting over there back too. Over there all the time. I've been talking. I just looked up now. She's gone. But there was Markel toys and gee, Caroline, I can't think of them now, but I know them as well as my own name. I can't think of the toys.
Well, that's all right. What
If
were?
you call back later on, when Grammy's here, she's gone somewhere.
Okay.
I'm sure she'd remember some of those too.
Let's see. What were some really famous movies that came out?
Well, there were very famous movies called Gone with the Wind was one famous movie, and and I can't. This is what I wish Grammy was here. If you call back in a while, I'll get Grammy, and she can get on the phone with me, and she can help me remember some of those movies. I can't remember any right offhand, to tell you the truth.
Okay. Let me see. What were some popular fads around the time that my mom was growing up, like when she was really young?
What was the most popular what?
Like, what can you give me some examples of some popular fads, like popular trends?
Oh, popular trends were pleated skirts, and white buck shoes. And this is where Grammy could really help me out, because my mind is just not working too good today, because I'm half sick, you know. But if you make a note of asterisk on some of those questions you're asking me, call back a little later, I'll get Grammy on the line. We can both talk.
Okay.
She can spike my mind a little bit.
Were there any like significant changes in pop culture that took place?
Well, of course, there are always changes taking place, Caroline, but
yeah.
I can't remember what any of them were.
I mean, are there any things that like, I'm trying to think of how to say this, that like the older generations like really despised like the younger generations were doing?
Well, gee, I don't know. There was always a difference, but the older I got, the more the difference showed between the younger generation and the older generation. You know.
Yeah.
I can't really answer that question too well.
Okay, that's fine. When the Beatles came around, did you like them?
Well, I didn't like them initially. No, I didn't like them because it was all that rock and roll. It was wild kind of music with drums beating and wild and people yelling and jumping and dancing. And in my day, people didn't go for that. The young people did. When the Beatles showed up, it was a big revelation. And there was a show in New York called the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
Ed Sullivan Show. The Beatles came to America and they appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. And it was one of the highest rated shows of the year.
Mm-hmm.
The night that the Beatles appeared on his show and sang 2 or 3 of their hit songs.
Did you dislike their long hair?
I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like the long hair. I liked the old-fashioned status quo, you know.
Yeah.
Right here, and I remember once when Grammy took Uncle Mark to get his hair cut, and I came home from work, and it didn't look to me like he had his hair cut at all. His hair was very long, and the barber had just trimmed it up good, and so that weekend I took Uncle Mark back to the barber shop and got his hair cut.
Oh.
He didn't like it too well because he wanted long hair, and then everybody started wearing their hair much longer, so of course he did too, and to be one of the crowd, you know. But no, I never cared much for the long hair.
Yeah. I know my mom always jokes about how you guys never let her grow her hair long.
No, I know it.
Why didn't you let her grow her hair out?
Well, Grammy, I don't know. We liked the shorter hair. It was always easy to take care of, and when took a shower in the morning or before school or whatever, it was always much easier to take care of, and it was always neat and well-groomed and so forth, and all our kids had short hair, you know. Gradually, when they started having longer hair, Grammy let them have longer hair.
When the 60s and 70s came around and, like, the hippies started happening and, like, Woodstock and all of that, how did you feel about that?
Well, I didn't care for that then, and I really don't care for it now, but it has become a way of life, so one has to, you have to accept it, Caroline. I didn't care for it. I like the old ways better.
Yeah. Let's see. How did, during the, let's see, what decade was it when you and Grammy moved
Getting to the end here?
Yes, we're almost done. What decade was it when you and Grammy moved back to Gardner?
No, I didn't hardly hear that at all. I moved around.
When you and Grammy moved back to Gardner after you graduated college,
Right.
like what decade was that? Is it the
What year was that?
What? Yeah, if you remember.
That was 57.
Okay. How did adults dress at that time?
How did what?
How did adults dress?
I don't understand that question.
Like, what kind of things did the adults wear?
Oh, well, they wore, the same as they do now. They wore, pants and shirts and so forth and so on. They about the same kind of clothing they wear today.
Okay. And, how did your kids dress when they were young?
Oh, Grammy dressed them, and we dressed them very, very nicely. They were the best-dressed kids in town. They really were. And the girls had nice coats and jackets and so forth. And Uncle Mark had a little top coat, a little London Fog top coat. We've got all kinds of pictures of the kids when they were little. And the girls had nice coats and so forth and jackets. And there was one brand that we had. Oh Lord, I can't even think of what it was now. The brand that we used to have. They used to have the shoes were called Stride Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We always had Stride Right shoes for the kids, and they were very